Hey there, people. It is an absolutely beautiful day here in Ashdale, Nova Scotia. Beautiful Ashdale, Nova Scotia. Just a few little updates for you. Got my solar panel, man. It's just amazing. I just can't get over it. I've been running everything off this thing. It's the handiest little setup I've ever had. I now have 3 big batteries going. So what I got running on this right now, and I got her, she's just pumping the sun. I've got it 2 lines running into the shop here, and I've got my radio going, so I have to turn that down so I don't get any copyright infringements. You know how protective Justin Timberlake is of his money. Fucking 1% bastard. Anyway, I've got all this stuff over here running. My battery charger for my drills. That's 2 different chargers, charging drills. I've got my radio, my telephone. When the charge is full, I can run this sander. Right now, I think it'll just shut it off. Let's just try it, see what happens. Oh fuck, runs great. So, but when it drops below 12.5 volts and I turn that on, it shuts the inverter down. The inverter's too smart for that. So, other than that, I'm running like, I run this bank of fluorescents here, and there's one above my window. I don't have it plugged in right now, but I can run both of them. And the past 2 days were really overcast and dark, and I ran for 2 days. I probably had them running for 8 hours. 2 of these double banks of T8s. So I was pretty impressed by that. And the whole time the radio and the chargers and all that shit was running. And I can always run this little Makita grinder, which is only maybe a 5 or 6 amp grinder. And I like it anyway because it's so small and doesn't kill your hands. It's actually one of the best little grinders I've ever used, is a little Makita. Sometimes they're on sale. You can get 2 for $99. I recommend them. They're good little grinder. What's next up here is the first forge going out the door has been redesigned, and mostly because I've frigged up and lost the files and I had to redesign. This is the 3rd time I had to redesign it. You know, the pan's more or less the same, with a few minor changes. The big difference is in the hood. It's about 1 inch taller here, up here, and it's narrower, so it fits into the package a little bit better. The pipe is just like the last one. It's squeezed into an oval, but it's not squashed to the point where it's not useful anymore. And the biggest difference is that I thought, well, if it's getting narrower, it may not have as much draft. So it comes with this little bendable piece. So when you get this, you'll be able to put a crescent wrench on here and give this little tweak out about 45 degrees, and that'll create a little bit of Venturi effect right in the front there. And I thought that was pretty genius innovation to the thing. The other big change is that there's these knockouts in the back. So if you want to run like a long bar through it, you can knock them out. You won't be able to really put them back in unless you weld them back in, but a lot of people are just going to do small things. This forge is meant for little bitty things, you know, pointing bars and, you know, some knife making, stuff like that, you know, hobby stuff, maybe some farrier work. It's actually a good size for doing, you know, shoes and things. And so you'll get a better draft if you leave those in, but if you want to run a bar right through, you can knock one out, and you may not have to knock them both out. You might just have to knock the top one out, but I put the bottom one there too in case you want to run something big through there. You can run something as much as 3 inches across through there. I don't think this little mini forge got enough balls to, you know, do anything significant with material that thick. It's not really made for that, but the hole is there for you. Still has the modern blacksmith in the front here, and then on the hood it has the modern blacksmith on the back. So I used about a little more than half of a bag in 9 gallons of water, and 200 to 250 grams of yeast. It's got to be a super yeast, like a distiller's yeast. This is particular yeast made for doing nothing but like liquor. It's actually called Liquor Quick, and it's kind of expensive, but I'm going to dabble in making my own from the same batch. It's pretty simple to do. You just, you know, give the yeast some food, some sugar. You just don't put it in a contained vessel. The alcohol will evaporate as it's being produced, whereas in the vessel situation, you're saving that alcohol for good reason. But if you put it in an open container, the alcohol will evaporate, the yeast will use up everything, and then it kind of goes into a stasis, and you'll just dry it out in a dehydrator or out in the sun or something, and then you have a fresh batch of yeast. And that's the way yeast works. I mean, it just continuously recreates itself as long as you give it food. This is going past, last night was 4 days, so this is 4.5 days, and it's pretty much, I mean, it is still doing something, but it's more or less done. I mean, it's still working pretty good there, but you know, you saw it before, it was really working. And I can't lie to you, I distilled some of it last night. I didn't film it, just, I don't know, because I'm an idiot, but this is what I use. It's a Kenmore water distiller unit. And yes, you can buy these. They've been making them for 30 years, and I think it's the only reason people buy them for the most part is so they can make their own liquor at home. Sears would never admit to it, but I'm pretty sure that's why people are buying these. All it consists of is it's got a fan and a coil on top here, and a little blower that goes through. There's last night's leftovers inside there, and there's some of the product that was produced. When it first comes out, what you need to do, run it into a cup with, you know, the ability to measure certain amounts. I'm going to speak in terms of metric, but it's more or less an ounce, ounce and a half. The first ounce, ounce and a half. Throw that up, because that's got bad flavors, and the more volatile alcohols like methanols and ketone, acetone, all them other nasty things in trace amounts, and they're the things that can actually poison you, may even kill you if you drank a certain amount of it. I don't think 50 milliliters would kill you, but sure as hell won't make you feel very good. Probably do some liver damage, and if you drank it, you know, 3 or 4 days in a row, very well might kill you, because if your liver shuts down, you shut down. So throw out the first 50 milliliters. 2 to 2.5 quarts go into this thing, and you throw out the first 50 mil, 1 ounce, the ounce and a half, and then you're going to keep 600 milliliters, which is about well, 500 is about 16 ounces, 17 ounces. So you're going to keep the first 18, 20 ounces, and that's going to be about 50 to 60% alcohol. Pretty strong stuff, stronger than what you get in a regular store, and just fine for storing. You can also distill a lot of it and then redistill it, and that'll make it a little bit stronger. It'll probably come out about 60 to 70 at that point. And also, again, it will leave behind more of the nasty flavors. When this stuff is distilled, it has a distinct yeast flavor to it. You can taste the yeast that's working in the system there. And then what you're going to want to do is run it through a filter. Or you can drink it like that. I drink it like that. I don't give a crap. I mean, after you get a couple of them into you, you don't taste much anyway. This here, I left this out last night. You should bottle it, because it will evaporate and just leave behind a bit of water. Ooh, still some alcohol in that. Oh, yeah, that's a good 50%. So anyway, that's it for now. I'm going to distill a little more later, and I'll probably do a second video, try and filter it a little bit, get rid of the yeast flavor. So I'll get back to you. Talk to you later. So yeah, I've got the Kenmore running there now, and I've already dumped out my first 50 mil. I got 2 quarts in there, And what I'm throwing out is this small shot glass. It's a 1 ounce glass, I think, or a 1.5 ounce. Well, basically about 50 milliliters. It's around an ounce for 2 quarts. So you throw that out, and then basically fill this entire cup, and what's left behind is garbage. And you can stop it around there, around 350 or so, and it'd be quite potent. It gets sort of watered down afterwards, and then really you ought to run it a second time, and that'll make it a little stronger. Other than that, that's all there is to it, really. So I'm just going to do a little taste test on the first little bit of this. It's after I've already dumped the what's called the heads. You got your heads, you got your hearts, and you got your tails. The heads is the nasty stuff. The hearts, obviously, is stuff that's good for you. And the last of it, the tails, is the stuff with all the esters and oils and really bad tasting things. And not necessarily poisonous, just ruins the flavor of the liquor. This is just a little drop from the first 150 mils into this, and I guarantee you this here is very high test stuff. It's probably about 180 proof, maybe 190. Ooh. Wicked. Wicked stuff. It starts out super strong, and it just kind of dilutes as it goes because it's boiling the water inside. I've modified this still a little bit to not run so hot, but it still runs a little too hot. I haven't really figured out a way around it yet. Just thought I'd show you how this stuff can burn, how dangerous it is. I'm just gonna put a little in here. Just gonna pour a little right there. Show you. So you can't see it there. That's how pure it is. I'd have to turn on a few lights for you to appreciate it, but so that'll give you some idea. You could run a car on it. That is the worst thing about alcohol. Sometimes you're on fire, you don't even realize it, and it burns hot.